Welcome to Turn to Your Doom. Today, we'll be finishing up Murder at the Old Willow boarding school. With me is somebody who turned into a ghost and now has to figure out what to do from here. Art.
Hi. When I said I was going to end it all, it turns out life found a way. I don't know.
Gosh dang it. Yeah, so we read, we got through about half, well, no, less than that. There's a lot of endings in this book. We got through, like, an interesting story beat. We got a couple endings, we got a couple bad endings, we got a good ending. Just for recap, we are a student at the Old Willow boarding school. It is a school for gifted, quote-unquote, students. So students with supernatural abilities, basically. I don't want to say superpowers because one of them is speaking to inanimate objects, which seems very useful, but at the same time isn't really a superpower.
It's kind of blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but we're a girl named Pearl who has telekinesis. And we were murdered in the library. And last time we learned, spoiler alert, that the headmistress is the one who killed us. But we're just going back through, seeing what other exciting story hook can happen to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, last time we figured out that the headmistress killed us. We time traveled back to before we were murdered, and were able to undo our murder, basically. We also discovered that the headmistress is doing experiments on the students as well. We got an ending where we were trapped forever in a tomb with other murdered students. We got one where, like, the whole school just got fucked up. Just, like, fireworks were going off, there's bugs everywhere, there's bats. Yeah. So we're gonna go all the way back to the beginning, basically, where the tree splits, basically. The tree of endings. So at the very beginning, one of our options, this is from the second option that we took, is that we can either, while looking at our dead body, we notice a dagger underneath a chair with blood on it. We had the option to try and move the dagger out from under the chair, which is the one that we took, because we can move anything that's red with our mind. The other option was if we try to confront our arch nemesis, Constance. That is the other option we did not take. So, if we take that one...
I would like to point something out, because, like, Pearl, the protagonist that we're playing as, it's just like, oh man, my power sucks. I can only move red things. If only there was like a red thing in people's body that's like very important to them after it gets oxygenated.
You think she would have put that together once she saw,
like, she could be just
saw the blood on the dagger.
Out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
also there's a lot of red things in the world.
Yeah. She also said that, like, over time, you're, like, the point of going to the school is over time, your abilities will get better. Like, part of this isn't just
start
going to,
red
like...
spray paint around.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Or, like, red paint balls. Just shoot stuff with paintballs from far away.
Yeah, like, there's so many ways to make things red.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, people have a lot of oxygenated blood, also. Yeah.
Alright, so our other option is to confront our nemesis, Constance, who's really mean to us, but I think she's just flirting. That's just me, though.
Well, that's because people who have, issues sometimes conflate people being mean to you as positive attention, and that just turns into a whole thing later on when they're adults.
Yeah, I wonder
when someone calls you an idiot, you're just kicking, you're just blushing and like kicking your feet. You're just like, oh, really? Really?
Oh my gosh. You're so right.
Yeah, that's how you go on that's how you have a string of girlfriends that are very mean and don't really like you that much. But it's all good. It's definitely not personal experience, though.
Yeah, it definitely isn't coming from a very specific place that you've experienced yourself. No.
I've never felt that before. It's definitely not a thing.
Definitely not a thing that's happened to you. No. All right. So it looks like this is one of the main trees that we can take. There's quite a few. This book is actually, so the new ones have a tree of your choices. So it shows you every ending that you can possibly get. And usually it's just 2 and then it's pretty much straight down. This one's actually like spread out pretty far. All right. So you turn to face Constance head on. It only takes a couple strides to reach where she sits. You lean down so you're eye to eye with your nemesis. This is the girl who isn't afraid to tell you she hates you to your face. The girl who uses her gifts to make your chair slide out from under you, to make your soup spill into your lap, to make doors lock you in or out. If someone had told you the girl with the gift of communicating with inanimate objects would bully you with her gift, you'd have laughed, because how the creeps could somebody possibly do that? Well, leave it to Constance to find a way. Not only does she communicate with all the things that surround you day and night, but she also convinces them to animate. They're like her own personal puppets of torture. As you stare into her icy blue eyes... yeah?
I would like to point out that this is like if you want to read a story that stars a person who can not only talk to inanimate objects but also animate them and whatnot. She has a cat. She has a scarf that acts like a cat. It's pretty nice. It's called the Mirror Visitor.
Ooh.
It is originally French but translated over to English. I'll give the French 1 thing, I guess. Or 4 things. They have 4 books out. But I would suggest it. They're good.
Nice.
Also, if you like the concept of someone being mean to you, but like they actually like you, that there's also that element.
Yeah.
As well.
Oh, nice. It has everything you could want.
Yeah, everything you can want.
As you stare into her icy blue eyes, something suddenly occurs to you. It's no secret she and Elwyn used to be good friends before you arrived at Old Willow. And it's no secret she believes it was you who pulled them apart. Was this her way of getting rid of you once and for all? Can she make daggers fly into unsuspecting students walking through the library? No, her gifts don't work like that. You don't think they do, anyways. Constance sighs loudly, as if she's reading your thoughts. You take a step back. Are you an inanimate object now that you're a ghost? Can she hear every word you think? Constance, you say? Can you hear me? She rolls her eyes. Constance! She tightens the red ribbon securing her long blonde ponytail. Can you hear me? Look at me. Say something to me. Constance clears her throat and calls Benedict, the headmistress's creepy cat, over to her. Of course she's the only one he likes, other than the headmistress and the cook who feeds him more scraps than he deserves. The little gnat curls up in her lap, and she smiles for some reason. This pushes you over the edge. I know you can see me. You slam your fist against the arm of Constance's chair. Your hand flies through it, which makes you even angrier. As you turn away from Constance, your eyes dart around the room. To Elwyn, your best friend, to Miss Loveland, and the headmistress, to the many groups of students all surely speculating. No one can see you, no one can help you, and you can't do anything about it. You turn back toward the mirror only to be reminded you don't even have a reflection. You barely exist. Your hands squeeze into fists. There's so much anger and confusion and sadness trapped inside your cloud of a body, and you can't do anything with any of it. Without thinking, you lean in and punch the mirror. It rattles loudly, threatening to fall off the wall and shatter. The room collectively reacts to the noise. A couple of people gasp. Several glance at your direction. Benedict leaps from Constance's lap and dives to the floor. He runs and hides under a table. Your breath is heavy as you examine your hand and calm down. It's just as misty as the rest of your body, but you actually made contact with something. Why didn't your hand pass through the mirror and the wall behind it that time? You look around. Everyone has gone back to whatever it was they were doing. Perhaps the noise wasn't as loud as it felt. Only Constance stares at the mirror. And that's where you stand. That anger wells up again. Wait, anger, that's it. We quickly make your way to the dagger. Maybe you can use the force of your anger to move it out from under the chair, but when you crouch down to move it, it's gone. What the? You glance around the room. Anyone could have it. You walk back towards Constance and try to move the book on the table sitting next to her, but it seems your energy is drained and your hand slips through it. You head to the window and think about how you can't get outside. Your frustration builds, and you quickly try to harness it and push the window open. It doesn't budge, but you leave a small smudge of contact against the glass. New ghost rule. Ghosts can use anger to touch things. Sometimes. Perhaps if you rest a while, you can try again. If you can get as angry as you were a moment ago, you might just be able to bust through the door and escape. While you wait for your energy to recoup, you try out other emotions to see if any has the same effect on objects. Sadness comes easily. You approach the nearest table and flick the pencil the student must have left behind. It goes flying. It's more difficult right now to become happy, but you feel it's safe to assume it would work too. You go back to anger, which is ever present under the surface. You set your sights on the door. Then you look to your other self, where she lies so sadly, so plainly on the floor. The heat of unbridled anger boils from every fiber of your existence, whatever that may be at the moment. You run as fast as you can toward the door and slam fist first into it. Your body goes through several layers of wood. It's thick and sticky and feels like the prick of needles, but you bounce back into the library. Defeated, you slide down the wall, pull your knees to your chest, and scream. The two sconces that flank one of the school's many secret passages flicker. No one seems to notice. You try again, but it doesn't happen a second time. What does happen is you realize that passageway could be your escape route. You realize that you've been going about this the wrong way. You don't need to go through the door. You just need to find an alternative door. Benedict's cat door might just work. So, if you want to take the secret passage, turn to page 90. If you want to try and go through the cat door, turn to page 94.
So, I'm still trying to figure out the ghost rolls here, because I feel like, if she was able to get her hands to go through a solid object.
Well, so she can
try to figure out how to go through.
Yeah, so it sounds like she can go through most objects except for, like, walls and doors.
Yeah.
Like, they might just be too thick. And she can't go outside, we know that.
Yeah, we know that. Well, let's try to go through the cat door.
The cat door, okay. Page 94. It's a tricky, tight squeeze, but you manage to push your way out the cat door. Luckily for you, Benedict isn't a small cat. Hey! It's much easier than trying to open the door, and the mistress's darling feline has many of its own entrances throughout the house. Your plan was to make your way to the hedge mage, to think, but when you consider it further, you decide it might not be the most productive use of your time. Instead, you decide to focus on a student, and Lucy was the last one you saw leave the library. You walk in the direction you saw her going, and consider Lucy's possible involvement in your death. She does have magnetism. The dagger could have stuck to her back at the library, and she might not even notice. Or maybe she intentionally stuck it to herself to hide evidence. You find Lucy and, bonus, Constance, both in the kitchen having a snack. They're eating the blackberry danishes the cook had prepared for afternoon tea. It's strange that they're here, since students were told to go directly to the dorm rooms. Who could so casually grab a snack at a time like this? You intend to find out. You see a couple of options before you. Leaving a message in the blackberry Danish filling might be effective. Or since Constance's gift is to speak with inanimate objects, you could threaten that table that if it doesn't pass along a message, you will lie on top of it forever. So, if you want to leave a message in the blueberry Danish, you gotta turn to page 149. If you want to threaten the table, turn to page 150.
I mean, let's start on the table. I feel like I get hurt more by tables than anything.
That's
like,
so funny.
I don't know if you experience this, but, like, I run into things a lot. Apparently, it's just an ADHD thing. It's bad coordination with the body.
Yeah.
And, basically. And I ran into a table the other day, and it really hurt. So,
yeah.
Let's start on the table.
All right. You are fed up with no one acknowledging you. I know you know I'm here, you glare at Constance. Then you look at the table where the blackberry danishes are plated. Table, you say, addressing the inanimate object. Help me communicate with Constance, or I will lie on top of you and scratch my nails into your beautiful surface and never stop. Constance's eyes dart to yours, then to the table. The table rattles. It shifts, scraping the floor. Lucy doesn't seem to notice. Constance only smiles expectantly. Fine. You pretend you're not freaked out and climb up onto the table lying across it. I'm not leaving. But the table's not finished. It almost seems angry. You suppose inanimate objects don't like being threatened any more than people do. The table shakes again beneath you. It slides across the floor and stops in front of the window. Lucy gasps. Constance, what's happening? Constance stands, goes to the window and opens it, just airing the place out. The table tips forward like a catapult. You are flung outside. The force is so great you fly across the grounds and land in the walled garden. When you land, you bounce back up and start running, trying to find your way out of the garden and back to the school. You don't get far. It seems that once you leave the school, you cannot get back in, and you are punished for this infraction in the most bizarre fashion. Like Alice after she drinks the drink me potion, you shrink down to the size of an ant. It is here, trapped by the massive walls of the garden, that you learn to live among the insects and invasive plants. You will also need to learn how to stop getting stuck in the morning dew. The end.
Oh, that's unpleasant.
That backfired. Just a little bit.
It backfired a little bit, yeah.
All right. So our other option was to write a message in the Danishes. You stick your ghost finger right into the middle of Lucy's blackberry Danish. Then on the white counter you write, "Pearl is here." Lucy jumps out of her chair and points writing. "Wait, was that you?" she asks Constance. "Nope." She doesn't look concerned. "Maybe it was a prank or something." "Constance, I saw it happen right before my eyes." Constance shrugs. She must be playing it off because she doesn't want Lucy to know for some reason. Lucy wipes the counter clean. You dip your finger in again. This time you write murder. Lucy takes off running, and you follow. Finally, you're getting through to somebody. Lucy is fast. You're several feet behind her when she rounds a sharp corner into the common area. You assume she's headed to Sawyer's room, her usual hiding place. Thinking quickly, you take a shortcut through one of Benedict's cat doors, but you take the wrong one. This one leads to the cat's indoor play area. It's a jungle gym fit for the most spoiled cat ever. Benedict follows. You try to get out, but he guards the door. "Are you kidding me for a ball?" you say. It's not the right thing to say. Benedict flees, but somehow locks the cat door shut. The room smells of kitty litter and catnip. This was not the plan. The end.
Damn. Can't catch a break.
Fuck. So we have to go all the way back to our option of either taking the cat door or the secret passage. So,
I guess we go through the secret passage at this point.
Yeah, if we go through the secret passage, rumor has it the original couple who owned the home that became the school hoped to fill it with children, but sadly never did. Sadder still, the woman died at a young age, leaving her husband to grieve in the huge empty house. In his grief and boredom, with more money than he knew what to do with, he started collecting cursed and haunted items. Some were highly valuable and questionably acquired. To keep them safe, he created countless secret hiding places in the home. Some were decoys, others were rumored to have never been discovered to this day. The one in the library is well known, but students are not allowed to access it. That won't stop you. The switch matches the wall and is partially hidden by a bookcase. Using your newfound ability to make contact with things by tapping into your emotions, you try to move the switch to trigger the door. You're surprised to realize it's much easier than turning a doorknob. After a few tries, you flip the switch. The hidden door slides open. Everyone gasped at the noise and the door opening seemingly on its own. You quickly slip inside the passageway. It leads to the small library downstairs. "Students," Miss Loveland says, her voice shaky, "please, everyone to your dorm rooms at once." On her way out, Miss Loveland flips the switch. The door slides closed. "Miss Loveland, no!" you shout. You panic. Then remember, thank goodness, there's another door. It's completely dark, but you carefully feel along the jagged stone walls as you make the short staircase down to what you assume is the first floor. When you finally get to the door at the bottom, you search for the switch. There is no switch, but there is a large heavy metal lever. You can't see it, but you imagine it's old, rusty, and heavy. At first you simply try to push the lever up. Then you try to push it down. Then to the side, then to another side. It will not budge. You change tactics and pull all your anger into it. The lever does not so much as shift. Come on! You try again and again. You scream and cry and try to bust through the door or the walls, even the ceiling and floor. This goes on for days, weeks, maybe months, until time has no meaning. You live out your ghostly days waiting for someone to enter the old passageway, but it appears to be stuck on both ends. The end.
Really racking up the endings here.
Damn. So we have to go even farther back. Passage, Arch Nemesis. So if we go all the way back to the beginning. Or wait. There's two. Nope, that was the one. Okay. And then we did that. We took the cat door. We tried both those. Okay, yeah. So we basically have to go back to the beginning. Almost. So this is actually our second decision. No, this is our first decision. So, all the way back here, this is where we find our dead body. It's pretty shocking. And our options were to run away from the scene or gather your thoughts, or run back to your body and try and shake yourself awake, because this has to be another nightmare. I believe we tried to shake ourselves awake, which didn't work. Shocker.
No.
So, if instead we decide to get away from the scene to try and gather our thoughts. You quickly back away, but as you do, you pass through several students. It's like walking through a wall of thick cobwebs. Oh no. Maybe that's the one that we took.
Yeah,
no,
that sounds
sorry.
familiar.
Yeah, no, that is the one we took. We gotta shake ourselves awake. So page 14. Alright. You don't have a very good view from where you stand. All you can see is the black sleeve of your uniform sweater, the corner of her skirt. It doesn't matter because it's not you. It can't be you. It's definitely you, your conscience, otherwise known as the annoying know-it-all in your head chimes in. You walk up behind Jack and Sal. "Hey," you say. They don't turn around. Forget them. You head towards Lucy and Sailor, who are standing with a few younger students. "Hello," you say louder this time. But not one of them as much as glances your way. "This isn't funny," you shout at the room. "Stop ignoring me." Still nothing. It's like you're not there. You're not really anyway. Not as you once were. "Shut up," you shout at the pest in your head. You try a door, but when you go to turn the knob, you're unable to grip it with your hand. You're unable to grip it. Your hand repeatedly passes through it. You turn to face the room and march straight out towards the line of students blocking you from the body on the floor. You make to push your way through so you can get a good look at yourself. Or no, this was the one we took. It's just that you just do similar things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you quickly back away, but as you do, you pass through several students. It's like walking through a wall of thick cobwebs, stringy and sticky. You brush the invisible ick off your body, while at the same time you collectively shiver and glance around the room as if looking for somebody they can't see. Nobody leaves, the headmistress states gravely, not taking her eyes off your lifeless body. It takes you a minute to realize that the demand doesn't apply to you. It's both liberating and terrifying. That's when it hits you. You can't leave, not even if you wanted. At least, not as you once could. You lift your hand up in front of your face, examine your arms, and look down at your body. Okay, I did do this right. It takes you a minute to realize that the demand doesn't apply to you. It's both liberating and terrifying. That's when it hits you. You can't leave, not even if you wanted. At least, not as you once could. You lift your hands up in front of your face, examine your arms, look down your body. You're misty and dull, but also sort of shimmery. You're still wearing your school uniform, which is honestly a major bummer. How? You ask, but no one seems to notice. Why? You look left, then right. Why me? But your voice is a far-off thing. You swallow, take a deep breath. You're dead, Pearl, you say, not as convincing as you hoped to sound. You shake your head at yourself and squeeze your hands into fists. Look down at the blurry, sort of glowy self. You are a ghost. The weight sitting heavy on your chest sinks like a boulder to your stomach, or where your stomach would be. If I'm dead, you are, a forceful voice in your head confirms. Then why am I still here? Your eyes dart to the nearest door. Maybe you don't have to be here. You rush to the door, but when you grab for the knob, your hand passes right through the metal. You push your body full force into the door, only to make it a fraction of the way through, before you bounce back into the room. Instead of cobwebs, the door feels like more like gelatin. Cold and thick, moldable but still solid. Just perfect. You're stuck in this stupid crowded room with your dead body for the foreseeable future. Instinctively, you back away to the opposite side of the room. When you feel the shelf of books behind you, you sink down the wall onto the floor. This isn't happening, you say to yourself. This cannot be happening. Suddenly, you feel something next to you. Glancing over, you see it's Benedict, the headmistress's cranky cat. He looks back at you with crystal yellow eyes as if he sees you. You reach out to touch him, and he bolts across the room and behind the curtains. Great. You were always more of a dog person anyways. When Benedict jumps from the floor to the windowsill, the curtain shifts so you see the outside. You have a perfect view of the hedge maze. The maze sprawls a good acre or two. In the center is a wooden gazebo. Vines crawl up and over it, as if to further conceal the prize, such as it is. The hedges are always green, even in the harsh winters that consume the old school, which sits in a remote forest up on the northernmost edge of Lake Willow. You used to think it was some sort of magic when most everything else went brown and dead come November. That is, until Elwyn unceremoniously burst your bubble a couple years ago and told you that the hedges were a type of evergreen. Magic or not, it's your favorite place. Or it was. You peek between the students still surrounding your body to get another look, but swiftly push your gaze back to the window too soon. Since you can't go to your thinking place, you suppose this will have to do as the next best thing. So, you think. You retrace your day from the moment you woke up yesterday. Breakfast was followed by a brisk walk with Elwyn. Morning classes were uneventful, as was lunch. You recall trying to talk to Jack and Sailor out of pranking Lucy with paper clips, but apparently you weren't very convincing. Then afternoon classes. Nothing stands out. Nothing at all. Mother Frankenstein, you say to yourself. How did this happen? How did you end up as a ghost? A wave of shivers washes over you. Can ghosts creep themselves out? Because you're pretty sure you just did. And the last thing you remember from the day before is dinner. Beef stew. You sat between Elwyn and Sal, and oddly, Constance was seated right across from you. She'd been late to arrive, and it had been the only open chair. Otherwise, your mortal enemy would never have sat close. Nothing makes sense. You turn and face the room. Students have scattered into small groups. Miss Loveland, your English teacher, is comforting the headmistress. Your body lies still and stiff on the floor. You're going to have to face the grim reality of the situation. You're a ghost, and it looks as if you've been murdered. But that knowledge alone isn't going to fix anything. You need to act and fast. But solving a murder, your own murder, isn't going to be easy. You wish that you had help, except no one around you even knows you're in the room with them. You could try and find a way to communicate with your classmates. There must be a way, but who knows how long that will take to figure out. Every second you waste is another second the murderer gets away. So, we have two choices. Either we can examine the scene for clues about the murder, or we can try and get anyone's attention.
Let's try to get someone's attention.
Okay, so we gotta turn to page 18. One of your favorite books is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. In it, the monster leaves notes and clues behind for the doctor to find. In this instance, your death is the monster. And surely there must have been clues left behind. It makes sense to search near your body first, but one glance and a shiver, you quickly decide against it. The outer edge of the library seems like the perfect place to start. Walking the perimeter, you see that the room is mostly shelves and books. There are lamps and desks and comfortable chairs and couches organized into cozy reading areas. This is the school's main library, and for what it is considered a small, quaint school, it's a large space. Of course, the whole school is housed in an enormous old mansion. Wall sconces and electric candles flicker and illuminate the space, along with 2 grand chandeliers. Nothing out of the ordinary catches your attention. No clues, no books, no papers, out of place. You make your way about halfway around the room, then something stops you in your track. Sawyer's knife case sits on a windowsill, partially concealed by the curtain. Odd. For a moment you forget you're a ghost and try to push the curtain aside and pick the case up. You nearly fall into the window. Luckily, this is different from trying to hold or grab an object. You only make it a little way into the wall when the sticky cobwebs push you back from whence you came. Unlike the other sensations that was all cobwebs, this time the cobwebs are made of needles that prick every surface of your body. You stumble onto the library floor. It takes minutes to shake off the pain and dizziness, but you focus back in on the dagger case. It's definitely Sawyer's. He's the only one who throws knives. And, well, his initials are embossed along the spine of the case. It's his gift, knife throwing and archery. He claims he's been throwing sharp objects since before he could walk. Damn. What kind of parents did he have? Yo, look at what the baby can do. Give it more knives.
Came out of the wound through like a sharpened like rib bone or something. It got somehow into...
Jesus.
Like...
Oh my god. Sawyer practices in a remote area of the school grounds. There's no reason the knife case should be here in the library. Odder still, the leather case is open, and a single blade is missing. You look back at your body, and then the empty spot in the case where the dagger should be. You jot this information down on a mental checklist you're compiling, and continue searching. You move to inspect the mantel over the fireplace, but standing in your way is Elwyn. At the sight of him, you're hit with the horrible truth. You're dead. Of course you knew this, but it didn't matter until now, when you realize you'll never be with your best friend again. Unless... Elwyn? It comes out small and weak. Elwyn, you say with more confidence. He looks through you. It hurts far more than the cobweb needles. Hey, you say, tapping Elwyn on the shoulder. But as you suspect, your hand goes right through him like he's made of fog. But it's more like you're the cloud. You take a step back. Focus, Pearl, focus. If you get caught up in all the sad, scary things being a ghost probably means, you will never escape this room, let alone figure out how you ended up here in the first place. Giving Elwyn a last look, you move past him and as he makes his way towards one of the windows where Lucy and Sal sat. You examine the mantel. Framed photos of the first class to attend Old Willow, and a larger portrait of the founder of the school sit in ornate frames flanking the mirror. 2 red glass lamps sit opposite from one one another on each end. Moving along the old stone ledge, you see there's a crack in the lower right corner of the mirror, with a small fragment missing. It wasn't broken yesterday. The headmistress is meticulous about these types of things. She runs a tight ship, Miss Loveland Ollie says, which is her nice way of admitting the headmistress is more a prison warden than a caring administrator. A staff member would have noticed the broken mirror immediately and had it restored. That is, unless no one had a chance to notice it yet. Moving downward, there's a little bit of ash spilling from the fireplace. You turn to move on when something in the back of the hearth makes you crouch down farther. There, between a couple of wood logs, is something shiny and yellow. Leaning in, you're able to make it out. It's the missing shard of mirror, and snaked onto it is a yellow piece of fabric. The color and texture of the fabric is similar to the ribbon Constance wears in her hair every day. It seems like if someone wanted to burn it or hide it, that could have easily been achieved. The scrap of mirror and fabric either fell into the fireplace by accident, or someone left it there on purpose to be found. You add these clues to your checklist. Broken mirror, ash on the floor, and a yellow ribbon, definitely belonging to Constance. As you make your way along the rest of the perimeter and then zigzag around the interior, nothing seems to be out of the ordinary. All that's left is to inspect the scene of your death. Taking a deep breath, you force yourself to stand tall. Then, when you do, your feet temporarily leave the ground. Ah! You shout and drop back to the ground. It was only a few inches, but you've never floated before. You try again. You stand tall, stretching up onto your toes as high as you can. Nothing happens. Giving it another try, this time you close your eyes and imagine your feet lifting up off the floor. Whoosh! Up, up, up you go. Of course, using your mind works. You are telekinetic, but controlling your newfound gift of flight proves tricky as you drift like a balloon without direction. You end up directly above your other self's body. Frozen dead eyes stare up at you. Your frozen dead eyes. The sight startles you, and you drop like a boulder to the floor, veering to the side just in time to avoid landing on your lifeless body. The floating must have taken a lot of energy. Floating must have taken a lot of energy out of you because your arms and legs are like anvils. You do manage to move your head to the side, avoiding your other self. You try to get a mouse's or sassy cat's eye view of the scene. There's a small tuft of Benedict's fur caught under the leg of the side table, a coin beneath the chair, and a missing knife from Sawyer's case. Slowly regaining your strength, you inch your way closer to the dagger. Is that? The last word refuses to escape out your mouth. Blood. Before you can grab the knife, several things happen in quick succession. The headmistress lets out another loud sob. There's a scuffle between several students, but you only make out Sawyer's spiky brown hair before all the lights go out. There's a scrambling, footsteps, shouts. Hey, what's going on? The cat hisses. A door slams. Despite knowing it's probably fruitless, you reach all around for the dagger. The light switch back on. No one's moved. But the dagger is gone. You immediately search out Sawyer. It is his dagger, after all, but he hasn't moved an inch. Still, it would be worthwhile to get a closer look. You did find his knife in the library with your blood on it. Those clues would make him a prime suspect, number one in Mary Shelley's eyes for sure. Any good murder mystery would also advise you to look beyond the obvious. You did find a piece of broken mirror and a scrap of yellow fabric, completely out of place. Examining the not-so-usual suspects might lead to more clues. So, you have the option of if you want to further inspect suspect number 1, Sawyer, we need to turn to page 41. If we'd like to search the others for someone wearing yellow or signs they broke a mirror, turn to page 45.
It is too easy to just suspect the person who has weapons already, because, I mean, I feel like that's the first person you go to.
The book also agrees.
But, like, if you know, then other people know. So.
Yeah.
Let's look for someone wearing yellow or something like that.
Okay. Something yellow. You scan the room with a keen eye for flashes of yellow fabric. You have no idea how the mirror was broken, or when you were mortally attacked. The murderer could be still wearing the yellow piece of clothing in question. Red used to be your favorite color. That is, before your telekinesis surfaced, and you quickly realized red objects were all you could attempt to control. Red was then associated with struggle, horror, and incompetence. Yellow became your new favorite color. That is, until you noticed Constance wore a yellow ribbon every day. You are currently in your all-black era. It feels more appropriate than ever. You make your way across the library to the book stack ladder. Getting more of an aerial view will be especially helpful. But when you go to climb the first rung, your legs slip right through the ladder. Ugh! You kick the ladder, and thanks to your anger this time your foot makes contact. Ow! Stupid ghost legs! You're angry and could probably try to climb the ladder, but it seems needlessly risky. You do attempt your new ghost floating skill, but the moment you reach more than 6 inches off the ground, things get unsteady. Instead, you keep it familiar and simply walk around the room, taking note of every scrap of yellow you see. Surprisingly, there's a lot, which is when you realize you have a problem. Old Willow's uniform colors are navy, forest green, and yellow. The odds are officially stacked against you. Everyone has a bit of yellow on, including Miss Loveland and the headmistress. Just great. Lucy. You get a good look at her sweater vest. It is still littered with paper clips. The problem is, it's knit, and the fabric caught on the mirror was smooth, not very frayed. On your way to inspect the headmistress's blouse, Jack catches your eye. His arm is in a sling. You're sure he wasn't wearing it yesterday, and it's yellow. Mother of Frankenstein. Jackson Jack Miller claims to have lived and died multiple past lives. Because of this, his gifts are wide and varied. These gifts are also unpredictable, and come and go without warning. He speaks countless languages, can pick locks, convince others to do his bidding, predict the weather, and contort his body into the smallest kitchen cabinet in the school. Jack can't recall exactly what gift-related mischief got him sent to Old Willow. He had broken into the principal's office in his old school, made a 20-minute phone call to the Falkland Islands, talked to a bus of Girl Scouts into giving him a ride to the airport, and was climbing in the luggage bay of the plane by the time he was finally caught. He arrived at Old Willow by police escort. Could Jack have something to do with your death? It's worth investigating further. The sling is made from a scrap of yellow fabric, so it's impossible to tell if it's been torn or not. You listen in to see if you can get any information about it. What do you think happened? Sal asked Jack, their voice low and serious. I don't know, Jack says in a monotone. His tone is sad, or is it steady because he's trying to pass off a lie? I bet it was one of those heavy poetry books she's always climbing up to reach. I warned her not to go climbing the ladder alone. Lucy sobs. But Lucy is also a talented actress. Sal puts their arm around her for comfort, before realizing the bracelet they're wearing has metal on it. Their arm sticks to Lucy's magnetic shoulder. Oh, I'm sorry, Sal says. Not your fault, Lucy recites. Not your fault. Lucy recites those words several times a day. Jack jumps into action, and using his non-sling arm, pulls the bracelet off Sal's wrist and sets it on the table. He winces with the motion. What did you do to your arm, Jack? You ask, though you know he can't hear you. You take a quick inventory. Sawyer's wearing a yellow tie, Lucy a yellow knit vest, Jack a yellow sling, and the headmistress a yellow blouse. Countless others have yellow on, but too little to have left a torn piece attached to the broken mirror. But who knows what everyone was wearing yesterday, or last night. Anyone could have made a quick change. Ugh, this is harder than you thought it would be. You continue making your way towards the headmistress. She now sits on the chair nearest to your body. The same chair under which the dagger disappeared. Her light yellow blouse is a silky material, but only the collar and a tinge of the cuffs are visible underneath her blazer. You go in for a closer look, but Benedict leaps into the headmistress' lap, and you've missed your chance. He hisses at you. Shh, shh, my little prince, the headmistress coos. Even though you're pretty sure you no longer have a stomach, it turns several times over. You need a new tactic. Glancing from yellow clothing item to yellow clothing item, they're so different. Different shades, different textures. Wait, I just need to compare them to the original. You quickly and precariously float to the fireplace. A familiar sound hits you as you approach the hearth. What the? The fire's been lit. Mother of Frankenstein, when did this happen? But it doesn't really matter because the evidence is gone. The headmistress stands and walks to the center of the room. Students, everyone to your dorms, now. Finally, you say. You cannot get out of this library fast enough. It seems you're not the only one. Everyone takes off out the two opposite doors. Students head to their dorm rooms, and the teachers head to wherever teachers go when they aren't looking after students. Which way? You begin to panic. On one hand, the headmistress is wearing that yellow blouse, and she was the one who found your body. But Constance has been your enemy since day one, and all of a sudden, on the day you die, she stops wearing her yellow ribbon? If you try to get a better look at the headmistress's yellow blouse, turn to page 68. If you search Constance's room for a torn yellow ribbon, turn to page 72.
Okay, I'm gonna be real honest. That first one sounds like the setup for porno. It's like, oh, I need to look at that blouse, and then you rip it off her, then that's when everything starts. Well, I mean, we know from the other, one of the other endings that...
Yeah, we already know who the murderer is.
I mean, let's look at the headmistress.
Okay. Following the headmistress feels wrong. Off limits, sort of scandalous. You're right! You like it. After all, she's the one who found you, and well, if anyone is skilled at keeping secrets about the school or its students, it's her. The old Willow boarding school is the headmistress's lifeblood, her legacy. She might not have founded the school herself, but she molded it into something that serves a purpose that is somehow both more exclusive and more mysterious than before. She's been known to go to great lengths to protect its reputation, and by association, her own. You follow her down several winding halls, up the black stairs, up a much steeper, twisty spiral staircase, and through her locked door, you find yourself in forbidden territory. The headmistress's turret, her tower, the place where all cell phones are kept under lock and key. All morning she sat over your body, bereaved, intermittently sobbing. But now, she seems completely normal. Almost cold. Was it an act, or has she all cried out? Is she still in shock? As you follow close behind, you try to examine her yellow blouse for any snags or tears. She always wears her hair up in a neat bun, which gives you a good view of the collar. It's meticulously pressed. Next, you float around so you're in front of the headmistress. You get a good look at the front of the blouse and the cuffs of her sleeves. Not a thread out of place. This doesn't completely exonerate her from the yellow fabric and mirror clue, but until you catch her without her jacket on, you decide to table it and move to other suspicions. Like, for instance, the mysteries that are sure to dwell in her office. The headmistress removes the antique metal key from her pocket and unlocks her door. You can't wait to snoop, but the moment you glide over the threshold, a forgotten memory flashes before your eyes. Mother of Frankenstein, you shout, then smack your hand over your mouth, forgetting the headmistress can't hear you. You laugh if the memory wasn't so strange. You were here, in this very room, yesterday. But only students who get into trouble grace these walls, and you never got into trouble. Try as you may to recall why you were in the headmistress's office, the memory goes dark. You walk around the large circular room trying to jog your brain into more details, but stop dead when headmistress removes a bundle from her pocket. When she sets the heavy object on her desk, the handkerchief it's wrapped in falls off to reveal the bloody dagger. What the? You say in shock. She wraps the dagger back up and locks it in one of her desk drawers. Before you can fully register what you've witnessed, there's a loud knock at the door. Without being invited, Mr. Fitzherbert bursts into the room. "Madam, what are we to do?" he shouts. The headmistress stands and slams her hands onto the desk. "Shh! Shut the door, Fitzherbert." He closes the door and approaches her desk. "Forgive me, madam, But we could have a murder on our hands. This could ruin the school. You think I don't realize that? She locks the drawer and pulls out the dagger. That's why I'm holding on to this. It could come in handy. But what do we do? How do we keep this from getting out? The girl, she's still... Calm yourself, Fitzherbert. My heavens, you act like we've never had a student die before. Wait, what? The headmistress locks the dagger back up and approaches Mr. Fitzherbert. We will interview every student who was close to Pearl, or recently seen with her. I'm good at a lot of things, but getting people, especially children, to talk is one of my specialties. She grins. Mr. Fitzherbert nods empathetically. They leave to get started. You are left alone in the headmistress's office with the dagger and the cell phones. If you choose to try and get your hands on the dagger, turn to page 121. If you choose to break into the cell phone drawer, turn to page 125.
I guess the dagger has, more immediate, proof, probably.
The headmistress's office is more like a closet of curiosities than a workspace. You realize the only time you've been here was for punishment, and when being punished by the headmistress. One must stay seated as if one's bum is glued to the chair, by threat of one's bum actually being glued to the chair. Now that you're able to snoop under the cover of your ghostliness, this space shows a much darker reality. There is a shelf of specimens, plants, insects, animal organs, and several jars labeled unknown. As you search, you discover a chest, the cell phone chest to be precise. With some precarious positioning of your hands, and using your pent-up ghost frustration as energy, you manage to shift the lid enough so that it falls off into the ground. The phones are lined up alphabetically, face up. Excellent. Yours is the fourth one, in the fifth row. First, you push emotion field energy into the tip of your fingers. To do this, you imagine all the pressure and tightness built up in your chest, flowing down through your arm and to your hand. It takes a few seconds, but your phone powers on. Mother, Frankenstein, only 2% of battery? You're definitely in the red. You navigate to the call screen and hit the emergency button. As soon as someone answers, you end the call. They're required to send someone out to do a safety check, and you hope it proves helpful. With the last bit of your battery life, you text your parents that you love them. Then, because you can't pass up the opportunity, when a perfect prank presents itself, you text Constance, Sawyer, Lucy, and Jack at once. The message simply says, I know what you did, and I'm watching. Pearl. How freaked out will they be when they get their phones back at the end of the year? That's actually really good.
That's a good one.
God damn. That's terrifying. Last but not least, you text Elwin. I'm a ghost and I'm at OW. I miss you, Space Boy. You use your personal nickname for him so he knows it's you. Your phone dies. The energy, while released in small bursts, has taken more of a toll than you expected. You push yourself away from the phone trunk, sink to the floor, and fall into a deep sleep. What feels like days later, you awaken to the sound of a harsh, loud bang at the door. Energy renewed, you rush downstairs to find the police are there. They've actually been there since your call and have been interviewing the students and staff of Old Willow Boarding School. Your body was recovered. Instead of calling the police or hospital, the headmistress and Mr. Fitzherbert had buried you in the family plot out back, and apparently did it with haste, as it wasn't hard for the police to find. While searching the school and grounds, the police find the bloody dagger in the headmistress's office, sealing her fate. She's happy to take Mr. Fitzherbert down with her. Actually, she blames it all on him. The police don't buy it, and they're both taken to jail. You eventually find several ways to communicate with your friends, writing on the chalkboard, using Constance's old creepy Ouija board, and spelling with the different word games. You also find ways to scare them too. Being a ghost isn't so bad. The end.
Okay. Well, that's not a bad ending,
That's
I guess.
a pretty good one. It's better than being trapped forever in a hallway. That kind of sucked.
And wouldn't your time-traveling friend be able to be like, hey, I need to go back in time and maybe...
I mean, if he knew.
Sequester. Well, yeah, but you said that it's just like, hey, I'm a ghost. I imagine he'd be like, or they, I think they're they, I don't know. You imagine they'd be like, hey, I'm gonna go back in time and like just like convince Pearl to stay in her room for
I see.
the next
to
5
even
days
just prevent
or
the murder. Yeah.
Yeah, just prevent the murder.
Yeah,
or,
totally.
You know, or do the thing we did on the last one where like they meet up with the ghost after eventually, and you know, like figure out a way. But,
exactly. Yeah, well, we got some good endings.
I'm liking this one. This one's written pretty good.
Yeah, I'll see where that other one leads, and if it goes anywhere, if it keeps going, if it stops, I don't know. But yeah, it was fun. Yeah. I like this one.
Yeah, well, join us next week if you. We'll either have a third part, or join us next episode. We'll either have a third part or we won't. You'll know by the end of this week. So yeah, bye. I don't know. What? Do the outro.
This has been Turn to Your Doom. And remember, don't ever trust authority, because they're probably the one that murdered you and turned you into a ghost. Okay, bye!
Bye.